Elden Ring Nightreign is like nothing I've ever played before. Released in 2022, Elden Ring was a gigantic commercial and critically acclaimed success. So much so that it can legitimately be a contender as one of, if not the, greatest game of all time. FromSoftware eventually expanded the title, of course, with the release of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC last year, but this had a lot of people, including myself, asking, where the hell does FromSoftware go from here? Well, Elden Ring Nightreign is the answer, and after playing FromSoftware's new title for 7 hours or so at a preview event, I was hooked. This new standalone co-op game takes the Souls-like genre and puts it into a blender with a large pinch of battle royale, a hint of hero shooter, and a dash of roguelike to create something accessible enough to attract newcomers while still retaining just enough of the addictive, punishing elements of the genre to keep Souls-like veterans engaged. Oh, and we know the release date too. Elden Ring Nightreign releases on PlayStation, Xbox and PC on the 30th of May 2025. Before I go into what's new, let's talk about some of the familiar Elden Ring elements in Nightreign. So it still retains the core Souls-like fighting mechanics while adding new elements, more on that later, and the map is a procedurally generated area called Limveld, which is based on Limgrave from the base game. The Sites of Grace return, allowing you to level up and heal. There's also a familiar but different round table type area that allows you to prepare for each session, plus there's a similar assortment of weapons, shields and talismans to equip, and of course there are some familiar enemies including bosses too. Now for the new stuff, and this is where things get really interesting. The game is session based around a 3-day cycle, which means that every time you start a new session you'll begin the cycle from the beginning. Every new session, which you can play solo, in a team of 2 with an extra random human player, or as a team of 3, feature a different procedurally generated small to medium sized map of Limveld with randomized events, varying enemies, locations and fresh bosses. Are you sitting down? Good, because there's no weight limit in Nightreign, so you can carry as many weapons and shields in your inventory as you like. There's also no fall damage, no matter what height you fall from. There are also significant movement changes too. You can now parkour, yes, parkour in Elden Ring around the map, allowing you to climb up cliff faces and reach areas that you would never even try to reach in the original game. Speaking of moving around the map, there are also many glowing trees around Limveld that, once activated, allow you to fly on a spectral hawk and traverse huge distances, which can be very useful. There are also handy spirit springs around the map that launch you into the air, often over big cliff faces. You can also be downed in typical Warzone fashion, giving the players in your party a chance to revive you before you're fully eliminated. And the way you have to revive teammates is actually pretty hilarious. You have to keep just slashing them with your weapon before their timer runs out, which is very satisfying depending on who you're playing with. If you do get eliminated, you'll stay eliminated until the following day. But if your whole party gets eliminated, the session ends and you go back into the round table and you have to start from the top. I haven't even got to the biggest gameplay change in Nightreign compared to Elden Ring, which is the introduction of hero characters Marvel Rivals style, with players able to choose from 8 Nightfarers to begin each session, all of which have a unique character skill and ultimate art power. In my preview session, there were 4 Nightfarers available. We had Wilder, an all-rounder soldier type character, Guardian, a high defense tank type character, Recluse, a magic sorcerer type character, and Duchess, a quick movement, close range type character. During my session, I found myself playing as Wilder and Duchess most often due to my specific playstyle and because that's just what the other players in my team needed from me. The Wilder character is a very familiar one and is a standard soldier type with the added bonus that they can reuse a retracting cable to pull enemies towards them or jump onto enemies using their claw shot character skill. And when their ultimate arts bar is filled, players can use the character's onslaught stake ability to fire an exploding bolt at enemies to cause incredible damage at close range. The cooldown takes a while, but it's worth a wait. Now, Duchess is very different, and in my preview session, they had an incredibly overpowered character skill called Restage, which duplicates the damage done to an enemy from the last time they were hit. So lining up the timing with a teammate successfully using their onslaught stake ability, if they are Wilder for example, is a superb combination, especially in boss fights. Now, the name of the game is to survive for 3 days. And at the end of those 3 days, you fight an endgame boss called a Night Lord, of which there are 8 in total, and these can vary too, to ultimately beat the game. The game cycle goes as follows. You prepare for your session and the roundtable area before launching it into day 1, in which you drop it into the map from a spectral hawk. Then it's a rush to explore, fight enemies, find loot, and attempt to level up as quickly as you can, because very quickly a Fortnite style circle begins to close in. But instead of a storm, blue flames will engulf you if you stray outside it. I know it's hard to imagine anything Elden Ring related featuring fast-paced or chaotic gameplay, but Nightreign is exactly that. Once the circle closes up into its final small area, the first boss fight begins. This boss was often Morgoth the Omen King, in my previous session that is. Hello old friend. Prevailing in a boss fight gives you and your team the opportunity to choose one of 3 dormant powers that will stay with you throughout your whole play session. Once the first boss is eliminated, day 2 begins and the process starts again. Explore the map, fight enemies, find loot, and attempt to level up as quickly as you can, because at the end of day 2, guess what? There's another boss fight and the difficulty ramps up significantly. Once the second boss is done, you're transported to the Night Lord battle, and once you open the Erdtree style huge door, you get a chance to beat the game. In my preview, only 1 Night Lord was available to fight, a 3-headed dog named Gladius, Beast of the Night, who was incredibly challenging. But FromSoftware confirmed during the event that there will be 8 Night Lords to fight when the game launches. Once you beat a Night Lord, you earn relics that you can equip for future sessions, bestowing boosts in certain attributes, or giving characters specific upgrades to their character skill, or even their ultimate arts ability. You can also earn a strange currency that, in my previous session at least, there's no way of spending, so we'll have to see how that's implemented. Now, you might think that once you've beaten the game once, you won't want to do it again, but trust me, you will. Thanks to the procedurally generated and randomized maps, the variation and combination of characters, the fast-paced gameplay, and the added social nature of co-op gameplay with friends or randoms, I wanted to play again and again and again. Even after completing the 3-day loop 4 times during my previous session, I was still captivated to try out this character, try a different strategy, use my relics, see what other enemies I could find. The battle royale elements certainly help the title's replayability too. It's genius, really, because Elden Ring Nightreign is a game you could easily convince your Souls-like newcomer friends to play in co-op, because without the full damage, the weight limit, and with the added gameplay mechanics, it's wildly more accessible and flexible than Elden Ring. But as the difficulty ramps up, the classic Souls-like experience starts to come into view again, and the genre veterans like myself begin to lean forward in their chairs because it gets real quick. FromSoftware has clearly taken a risk with Elden Ring Nightreign. It could have easily gone quiet for a few years after its recent successes, but instead, it's taken the Souls-like formula and incorporated elements from different genres in ways you would never have thought, to create something truly unique and captivating for players of any experience level. I'm still hankering to drop in, and I can't wait to play more of Elden Ring Nightreign. Let me know in the comments what you're most excited about, and if you've got any questions, because there's so much more that I didn't get to put in this preview, but if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer some of them for you. And why not like and get subscribed so you don't miss any of our new content that we've got coming up. The latest game previews, reviews, and also more Elden Ring Nightreign stuff too. That's all from me. We'll see you in the next one.